Today is Monday, April 28th, and I'm reviewing the NFL Draft, starting with the Dallas Cowboys.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Eyeing retirement? Let us show you how to turn your nest egg into a paycheck with half the amount you've been led to believe. Fluent Financial combines in-house portfolio design and risk management with income-generating investments designed to accelerate your financial independence. Let us develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you so you can retire sooner and have a better lifestyle. Fluent Financial can also implement a program that allows business owners to install a cash balance plan, which is designed to help drastically reduce income tax payments. You've worked hard to become successful. Let us develop an effective portfolio strategy that works for you. Learn more today about Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. For more information or to schedule a meeting, visit fluentfinancial.com or call 972-852-4800.
Going into the draft, if you heard the podcast the last couple of weeks, I wanted the Cowboys to get help in the lines. I think the lines on this football team were so deficient last year. So I was pretty happy when the Cowboys used a first pick on a guard, Tyler Booker, though I didn't have him rated to be as high as number 12. I did have him rated as a first rounder, but not that high. But then, in the second round, the defensive end from Boston College, Ezaraku, they got him at number 44, and I had him in the 20s, thinking he should have gone just past the middle of the first round. And then in the third round, they get Savon Raval, and I had him rated at the edge of the first round. So the Cowboys get a guard, Booker, who I think will step right in and start at right guard. They get Ezaraku, who will be at least a rotating defensive end and a pass rusher, and Raval, who I think steps right into a starting cornerback job and allows Deron Bland to go back to the thing he does best, and that is play the nickel. The first three, all of these players had first-round grades or very close to it, and realized the last of them, Raval, was taken with the 76th pick. Now, he has some injury flags, but he does appear to be past those. And the guy who repaired his knee just happens to be the Cowboys' surgeon, Dr. Dan Cooper. So they ought to have pretty first-hand information about the status of Savon Raval. What's interesting to me is the types of people these are. The new coach, Ryan Schottenheimer, wants to change the culture. Yeah, I know. You've heard it all before. Wake me when it's over. But Schottenheimer actually appears to be committed to doing that. And all three of these players are very, very high quality leader type players. And that's what Schottenheimer wants to introduce in his locker room. Now, realize that's necessary because the Cowboys lost Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence and Jordan Lewis over the offseason, and all of them were incredibly respected leaders in the Cowboy locker room. Now, day 3 is a little harder for me to judge. The players taken from rounds 4 through round 7 obviously haven't established the kind of credentials that players taken in the first 100 picks or so have established. So you can't be certain of grading them. But in day 3, the Cowboys still had 3 significant needs. They needed a runner or runners They needed a defensive tackle to push Mozzie Smith out of a job. And they needed a wide receiver. Well, you know what? They didn't get the wide receiver. You know what? The people who say that, and I saw that written around here, the people who say that, that's unrealistic about a draft. You can't go in rounds 5 and 6 and 7 and say, oh, we got a starter there, we got a starter here. The Cowboys had too many holes to fill for just the number of picks they had in this draft. Cowboys could have used another one, another two, and they're 4 back. And then maybe they'd have been able to fill all the holes, but they didn't have those picks. So in day 3, rounds 4, I shouldn't say rounds 4 to 7 because the Cowboys didn't have a 4th round pick. So rounds 5 to 7, they did make one trade to move up for a linebacker. And though I didn't see a rating on him high enough to go in the early 5th, the Cowboys really liked something they saw in this guy, and a reminder that linebackers are the staple of special teams. So what they got in day 3, let's go to running back. They drafted Jaden Blue from Texas and Phil Maffa from Clemson. Jaden Blue is fast. He's a receiver out of the backfield. He's not an every down back. Maffa is huge. He's a pounder. And the Cowboys feel that Blue and Maffa form a combination, and that appears to be true. But they also have now Javonte Williams, who slides back to the number 3 back on the team. That's not bad. Or they still have Miles Sanders also. So the running back position, while they did not have a star there, it looks more fortified than it did before the draft began. Then in round 7, they took 2 big bodies. They took 1 huge body and 1 big body. They're both nose tackle types. Toia from UCLA and Akim Yasate from Maryland. I don't know if they're good enough to push Mozzie Smith out of a job. I don't know. But they may just be good enough to push him very hard in training camp. The Cowboys have enough pass rushers now with the draft of Ezraku and the health of Sam Williams. But they don't have a big body to stuff the run on 1st and 2nd down. That was supposed to be Mozzie Smith. It hasn't been Mozzie Smith. And that's why the Cowboys are looking for answers at that position. The Cowboys, I guess at certain points, could have taken a wide receiver. But you know what? As we went through the draft, there weren't wide receivers on the board better than the player the Cowboys took. In the 1st round, they could have taken Tet McMillan, would have taken Tet McMillan, number 12, but he didn't get to them. And Booker was on their list right behind McMillan. For the Cowboys, I thought this was a very, very good draft. Now, those of you who followed the years I did the draft on radio and did it again this year for the ticket, you know that there have been drafts I've been pretty unhappy with, including a couple of years ago and the 1st rounder last year. I think the Cowboys got terrific value in the first 3 picks, especially. What they need is for a player or 2 from day 3, the runners, one of the defensive tackles, somebody to hit from that round. But you know what I am pleased with? At the end of the day, the Cowboys drafted 5 linemen. And for me, this draft was supposed to be about big guys who can play. And hopefully, the Cowboys have found 3, maybe 4 big guys who can play. Now to the rest of the NFL next.
In 1993, Bob opened the original Bob's Steak and Chop House on Lemon Avenue. 32 years later, the original Bob still greets you at the original Bob's. And now his sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch has opened in McKinney. Same fantastic beef and fresh seafood at these 2 Bob's, each run by the Bob's Steak and Chop House. Are you struggling to cook healthy meals that actually taste good? Not sure what seasonings go together to make your food pop? Well, let's be honest. You need something quick and easy for your busy schedule, and OPA, O-P-A, OPA has you covered. Introducing OPA seasonings. Mary just loves them on meat, fish, chicken, veggies, salads. Just sprinkle, enjoy, and you will love OPA. You get it easily. You go to the website, opafoods.com, O-P-A foods.com. Use the promo NORM, and you get 10% off your order. And here's the best part. A portion of every purchase goes to the Austin Street Shelter for the Homeless, helping those in need while you enjoy great food. Delicious meals, a great cause, and savings. What's not to love? Try OPA today.
Okay, here are my thoughts on the draft. They may be different from lots of, maybe all of the others you read. I grade drafts a little different. I combine the quality of the player and the quality of the need, and see if teams manage to get valuable players that fit positions of need. Now, I won't talk about bad drafts. I wasn't enamored with Cincinnati's draft. They did draft 5 defenders first, and they sure need defense. But I sure wasn't enamored with their first pick, Stewart. But hey, if he pans out, this draft may turn out well for Cincinnati. But the best drafts, in my estimation. I loved the Tennessee draft. Just loved it. Of course, picking number 1, they got the best quarterback in the draft, Cam Ward, and they're desperate for a quarterback. But you know, as the days went on, Tennessee kept adding nice players. In the 4th round, they got 2 players, DK, a wide receiver, and Gunnar Helm from Texas, the tight end. And in the 5th round, they got another wide receiver, Elik Ironmanner. All those I thought were really valuable picks for that place in the draft. So I like the Tennessee draft. Next, it's not hard to like a draft where a team has 11 picks, but New England is trying to change the face of their team. And in the offseason, they moved to change their offensive line. And they continued that in the 1st round by taking the LSU tackle Will Campbell. Now, I know some people say, well, he might be a guard. Okay. If he moves into guard, he's an all-universe guard. But Will Campbell's a player. And it continued. The next 4 after Campbell were solid defensive players. And Vrabel, who used his dollars in free agency to rebuild his defense, then added 4 more early picks to prop up that defense. Vrabel is a defensive coach. And if I were figuring on playing New England next year, I'd worry about scoring against them. Because it looks like Vrabel, in the space of just a few months, has totally changed the face of his defense. And by the way, even late, They changed their special teams. They drafted what they thought was the best kicker in the draft and the best long snapper in the draft. Next on my list. I know this is not going to make Cowboy fans happy, but I like the Philadelphia draft. They lost a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. And what they did was go after defensive help. And they got it. All of their draft picks early were defense. The first 6 were defensive players. And then later on, I thought they added a really interesting quarterback in Syracuse's Kyle McCord. And they drafted in the 6th round also Texas tackle Cameron Williams. A lot of people were down on Cameron Williams because they had an iffy senior year. But he was playing with an injury. And Philadelphia does stuff like this. They draft a player and, in effect, redshirt him. And then a year, or sometimes 2 down the road, all of a sudden, he's back, he's beefed up, he's healthy, and he's hell on wheels. My next team. I've been a long-time admirer of the way the Pittsburgh Steelers do business. They want types of players. They play a specific type of offense and defense, and they go after players to fit their schemes. The first 4 all fit their schemes. And one of them, Caleb Johnson, is just the kind of runner the Steelers like. He's just a head-down barrel at you, buddy. And late, the Steelers, who were looking for a quarterback to develop, took Ohio State's Will Howard, whom I thought was going to go for earlier than the 6th round. 5th on my list of teams I liked, I know, not many people like the Cleveland Browns these days, but the Browns really needed a lot of help. So they traded away from the 2nd pick in the draft, Travis Hunter, who's got a chance to be a great player. But they got value for him. They got value this year and next year. And then the Browns went about making choices through the 5th round. I liked all the Browns' choices all the way through the last one, where they took Shedeur Sanders. By the 5th round, he represented value. And I thought that Cleveland did a really nice job of keeping their wits about them and drafting best player left on the board. The 6th and final of my teams is I like Detroit. Detroit suffered catastrophic injuries last year. 16 defensive players wound up on the injured reserve list before the end of the year. 16, including 4 starters and 5 primary backups. So what did Detroit do? Well, they maneuvered around. Detroit likes to move around. They identify players, they go get those players. 5 of their first 6 picks were defenders, and the only one that wasn't was my sleeper wide receiver, Isaac Tesla from Arkansas. I love wide receivers from teams who have bad quarterback play. And Tesla is a fine wide receiver, and once he arrives in Detroit with Jared Goff, he's going to think he's in heaven. There were other drafts I liked, but that's it for the draft. And I'm really happy for the Cowboys and hope that this draft becomes the start of the culture turnaround for Brian Schottenheimer, where he brings in leaders, competitors, team captains. But that's why we're going to see them play the games, to see if this draft was as good as we think it is.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, Better Lifestyle, by Bob's Steak and Chop House, and by Opa Seasonings. Savor the flavor in your food.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. If you enjoyed what you heard, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will be delivered to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you know someone who might enjoy our work, please share it with them. I'm Norm Hitzges, and I'm always just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitzges, and I'm just wondering